I want to talk about my favorite franchise of all time.
Oh, he's gonna read it now. Can I at least read some of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can swap back and forth. Not that way. It's my favorite franchise of all time. It has been for pretty much my entire life. It's just one that I can go back to. I have infinite things from the franchise.
You should have told me this before I left the house. I would have brought one of those and just like popped it up and like hello.
Scattered through my whole game room here. It's Resident Evil. It's, I think, probably what really brought mainstream horror into games. I would argue that it made it popular.
Doom.
I mean, yes, but like that's not real. I wouldn't really consider Doom like a horror game. I don't find Doom to be like a horror game.
Can you say the name again?
Yes, I understand that, but I feel like Resident Evil really was the one that like popularized it, changed the game, and just really brought it home. Like really brought like that classic horror movie vibe to the mainstream.
Yeah, I could have. Well, Silent Hill.
So there's always that battle of like, you have the Resident Evil people and you have the Silent Hill people. Like it's kind of like if you think one is the biggest, but like I look at those two franchises as doing something completely different. Like Resident Evil brought the horror genre, like the classic horror genre, like like when you watch a classic horror movie, like those feelings that you get like that little bit of unease, you get that little bit on the edge of your seat where you're just like, uh-oh, I know what's going to happen. And then you have like a jump scare and you jump and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like it's like the classic style of horror versus Silent Hill is more of like that horror that makes you think. It's the one that like really plays mind games. It gets you in your thoughts and you're just like, whoa, man. Like, cause it's like Silent Hill is all about like hallucinations and being in like an alternate reality kind of thing.
I mean, I thought Silent Hill was all about psychotropic mushrooms.
So like I think Resident Evil drove like the classic horror genre versus, Silent Hill that steered like the psychological horror genre. Because the deeper in the Silent Hill games that you get, the more like psychological it does get. Like Silent Hill 4 is, I haven't played it in a while, so I could be completely wrong here, but like when I played Silent Hill 4, it was probably like one of my favorite stories because it really was like, it really like played games with like your thoughts, because there's like a hole in like your room and it leads you to like the other realm basically.
Sounds
and
like
then
Alice in Wonderland.
you do like the stuff and then you come back through and then like stuff changes.
Was there a Mad Hatter?
Like stuff changes. Like you look through like a little like peephole or whatever and you can see like in the next room and you can see like a setup where there's like a bunny.
Oh, so
like
you're a creep.
Like a stuffed bunny.
So you're a creep.
I don't know why that's there, but like you can see it and it changes, like it moves and it gets like creepier like the further that you get into the game.
What game was that for iOS? The Room? Did you ever play that?
Mm-mm.
Dude, do it. It's.
I'll have to look at like, because like that is one of my favorite like genres when you're looking at games, is like that horror genre. So
It's definitely The Room.
Resident Evil like really brought that into the mainstream. Especially like I think it came out too at like the perfect time. Like if something like this would have come out in like the NES, Super NES era, like I know stuff like that like existed, but it didn't have that like grabbing.
You couldn't
like,
articulate it the way they did.
Exactly. Like with the 3D on the PS1 and like the way that you could like see the gore and the graphics and stuff, like it hit hard enough to where you were like, I've never seen something like this before. Like
immersion is important.
Exactly.
Here.
Yeah. Immersion is definitely.
Could
so
you
I just
imagine if this launched in VR?
Dude,
like
have you ever played Resident Evil in VR?
Yes, I almost pissed myself.
Yeah.
Because she like comes out at
dude, it's wild.
But like, if this launched, if the first taste the world ever got was virtual reality,
that would be insane. So I just want to like go over the original trilogy for the PS1 and just kind of like revisit them a little bit. So I have like basically like the summary of what the game is. So we'll start with the first one.
Basically?
Shut up, Andy. So the first one released in 1996. It was on the PlayStation 1. The summary of it is on July 24th, 1998, when a series of bizarre murders occur on the outskirts of the fictional Midwestern town of Raccoon City, the Raccoon City Police Department STARS team are assigned to investigate. After contact with Bravo team is lost, Alpha team is sent to investigate their disappearance. What?
Doesn't Bravo come after Alpha?
Well, they had two teams at the same location, but they lost contact with Bravo team, so Alpha team was...
So what was Alpha team doing before that?
I don't know, man.
Hey, let's go play golf.
So this is the most one of the classic games that you can play that at the time was like groundbreaking. Looking back on it, it has that charm because it's so corny. It is
STARS team?
It is well, special tactical and special tech. Why can I not?
Special Tactics and Rescue Service.
Yes.
It's right there in the third one.
Oh, yeah, right there, yeah. Yeah, like...
I mean, you couldn't just use, like, the universal SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics?
Well, you have to, like... Yeah, you could, but it wouldn't have that... Like, you have to have, like, something that identifies...
Right, it wouldn't be that corny-ass shit.
Well, no, you have to have it. You have to give it an identity.
STARS.
What's so wrong with STARS?
They're the stars. It's so cliche.
No, it's fantastic.
Bravo team is lost. We must find them. Where's Charlie team?
So, anyway, like, if you have, like, somebody that looks back on this that wasn't born in this time period and they go to play it, they're going to be like, what is this? But it has such a charm to it. Like the live action intro where they have like them walk, like they're at the helicopter crash. They're walking around and it's like B-movie style, like camera angles. And then, you know, one person lifts up the gun and it's attached to like a hand and they're like, ah! And it's like the still shot of them like, and then, like, they're just like, hey, over here. And then, like, they get into all the stuff and, like, the cheesy lines of people that were not actors at all.
Raccoon City.
And it's just something that every time I see it, I have to laugh, but I love it. It's so good. And then, like, I don't know, there's multiple versions that you can play. But I think I don't know if it's in just the director's cut or if it's in like the DualShock version as well. After that little live action scene, you get like the introduction of the characters, which is even better because it's just like
I just showed everybody you need to cut that.
It's just like it's like the typical Chris Redfield, and it's just this guy and he like has like a cigarette in his mouth and he's like Mr. Cool. And then it cuts like Barry Burton, and he's just like the gun expert. So he has like this giant like Colt python, and he's just like, yeah, I'm cool. And then it's like Wesker, who's supposed to be like the even cooler guy. So he's got like the slick back hair with the sunglasses, and he's just like, yeah, I'm cool. It's the cheesiest shit ever, but it is just so good. And then right when you're in the first part of the game where it opens up and you're in the mansion and someone's missing depending on the scenario you choose. And
hey, real quick, pause. Speaking of mansion, I'm going to a haunted house this weekend. You want to go?
no,
You sure?
I'm going to be having a baby.
I mean, Diddy gave me the keys.
Of course.
Go on.
So you get into the mansion, and like either Jill or Chris say like, you know, so and so's missing, and it's just the cheesiest voice acting of all time.
The best moment would have been if somebody would have turned around and been like, "No shit."
Dude, it's the level of charm and just like nostalgia that is in this game is. But here's the thing about like this style of game is it truly is a timeless game because it's all about exploration. Like that is the key to the Resident Evil franchise is exploration.
What if somebody remade it and undid all the cliche stuff and made it like now?
Well,
like you would have the stuff where somebody would turn and be like, "No shit."
Well, they did remake it for the GameCube, which is fantastic.
Yeah, but did they adapt it to 2024?
No. And I don't think like I would like to see a remake, like a modern remake of it, but they can't do that stupid shit to it. Like,
oh, that would be so great if they were just like, "God."
I hate you so much.
I would hate the game. I'd be like, "What is this Gen Z shit?" Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha.
Well, it takes place in the 90s, so like you couldn't adapt it.
You could change that.
No, you can't. You just can't.
So here's
they
my
tried that in Child's Play, and it worked out very poorly.
Here's my pitch. Let's make a Resident Evil 0.
It's already a thing.
What?
Resident Evil 0 is a thing.
Oh. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, it takes place right before Bravo Team, well, right before Bravo Team's helicopter crashes.
No, we need to go way back. We need a Resident Evil -1. We're going back to 84, where all these guys learned how to shoot.
So, yeah, like it's all exploration. So, it truly like it aged good because it's the most simple concept: run around mansion, look for keys to unlock doors, go revisit area that had locked door. Unlock door, get thing behind locked door, go to the next thing, and basically like you navigate it so easily. Like it's the big thing that makes it like what it is like the survival aspect. Is like you have to watch your ammo, you have to save certain things for the boss fights, or else you can't beat the bosses, or you have a rough time beating the boss.
What happens if you run out of ammo?
Then you can't get past the boss.
Why not?
Unless you know like how to do like a knife glitch or whatever. Like if you even brought them. Most of the time, you're not even going to have the knife on you when you're fighting the boss.
Why?
Because it's useless. It just takes up an inventory space.
But I'm so glad that my pockets aren't measured in little squares.
But
you
that
can carry
adds
16 things.
That adds to the, the survival aspect. Is you have to have the right things at the right time and this and that. Like it's going back to it. It does prove to be like, God, like I hate this, but I love it, but I hate it.
I mean, that's realistic right there because that's like one of the foundational pieces of survival. Always carry a knife.
I mean, you can carry a knife through the game, but
Always carry. Do you ever go anywhere without your knife?
all the time.
And you drive a truck?
Yeah.
2024 don't make them like they used to.
Usually I have something a little more powerful than a knife.
Good luck cutting with that.
I'm never in positions where I need to cut something.
What if you drive up on an accident?
What about it?
What if you need to get somebody out of a car that's on fire?
I'm not a paramedic or a volunteer firefighter.
Well, I guess they're fucked, aren't they?
If I see a car on fire, my first thing isn't run towards it.
Really?
No.
Oh.
And most of the time when I see a car on fire, it's way past saving anything. Not a truck driver. Just seeing it on the road every single day.
No, that's literally the only reason I actually carry a knife everywhere. So if I ever needed to cut a seatbelt, I could.
That is the most Andy answer that I've ever received.
When you're 16 and you encounter a situation where you need to cut a seatbelt and you can't, it sticks with you.
I mean, I guess. Anyway, Andy, you can take us into Resident Evil 2. This is my favorite game in the series, hands down.
Well, then why don't you take it?
Because you said you wanted to read some too.
Resident Evil 2 was released in 1998. I'm just going to read this verbatim because I don't know how to paraphrase two sentences. The player controls rookie cop Leon S. Kennedy, not affiliated with John F. Kennedy or Robert F. Kennedy, and college student Claire Redfield, who... Is that his daughter?
It's his sister.
Big sister?
Little sister.
Who must escape Raccoon City after its citizens are transformed into zombies by a biological weapon 2 months after the events of the original Resident Evil. That's... You got some of that over there, right?
What?
The bioweapon?
Yes. I have a display that is the TNG virus in a case. It is the coolest Resident Evil item that I have. It is so sick. This is the best Resident Evil to play, hands down. They remade it in 2019. It is perfect. This was the game that cemented Resident Evil as a franchise. Because, like, the first one, yes, but it all matters when you do the sequel. And this was done so well. It took everything that Resident Evil was, amped it up, took it a step up, kept the survival horror intact, and just made it that much more important to the gameplay and to the experience.
I have to wonder if, in retrospect, the developers wish they had gone farther forward than 1998 in the original one. Simply because of the 2-month time period that elapsed between 1 and 2. And the fact that 2 was released in 1998, so I'm sure there were some people there like, man, this shit ain't happening. But that's just my weird take on it.
Yeah, so 2 months after the original Resident Evil is when the virus escaped into Raccoon City. So it became like this widespread pandemic, basically, where people started to show signs of like becoming a zombie. And it's done so well in Resident Evil 2. Like, I think if they tried to like do the whole like SWAT unit basically of like made it like this big thing trying to take take back the city kind of thing, I think it would have like kind of buried the franchise. But the way they made it, like, you're the rookie cop Leon, and it's your first day on the job. You go to a gas station. That's when you meet up. Like, you wander into the gas station. You see this dude who is a zombie. Then you meet Claire. You two like link up because you realize something is going on. You go into the city. Claire's looking for Chris during this time because he was a member of STARS, located in Raccoon City. And Leon is a member of the RPD, Raccoon Police Department.
It's not RCPD?
No. So, it's like the perfect storm of, like, whoever wrote it just knew, like, this is what they had to do to make it stand out. You had to get away from being the team investigating to being, like, regular people out in the city, because then you drift apart. And they made it 2 scenarios, so you could play as Leon. You played through his scenario of, like, going through the RPD, discovering Umbrella's laboratory, discovering all of that stuff and the corruption that was going on there. And you play through Claire's scenario, which is kind of like the same thing as Leon's, but you explore, like, there's little, like, differences, and she gets access to areas that Leon doesn't. So, like, you get to see, like, a little bit more of, like, the city or these rooms in the RPD that you don't get to see with Leon. So, like, they made it good enough to where, like, you felt like you were having, like, a separate playthrough with Claire, and then they had the other the B scenarios where you could play and, like, objects were in other location, like, different locations, so you weren't like, oh, the heart key's here and the valve handle's here. Like, they swapped locations of items, so it was, like, kind of a new experience.
Well, and I think it was, 13 years later that we found out that bath salts were the real version of
the
a
T virus.
weapon. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
somebody's eating a dude's face in Florida.
But, like, the enemies that you encounter in Resident Evil 2, like, when you encounter Brad, not Brad. Well, you can. No, that's in 3. Wait.
Oh God.
I think it's in 2.
Wires have crossed.
Is it in 2?
The wires have
crossed. Well, no, you can encounter, maybe that's in 3.
Wires have definitely crossed.
I think it might be in 3. But, like, Tyrant, like William Birkin and Sherry Birkin and Annette Birkin, like the Birkin family being the creators of the T virus, and then you have the team that was sent by Umbrella to take the virus so that they could do what they did. And William Birkin didn't want that to happen. He injected himself with the virus, turned into Tyrant. But, like, you get to see him keep his, like, little bit of humanity, because, like, when he sees his daughter, like, he recognizes that it's his daughter. Like, the virus is fully taken over. He's transformed into, like, this giant monster, but he sees her and knows, like, that's my daughter. Don't attack, basically.
So here's the question, then. If you retain that degree of humanity, do you still retain rights?
I mean, I don't know.
Like, is it wrong of us to dispose of them?
I mean, no, because they're just going to murder everything in its path. It's just, like, I guess it was him, like, getting to that point of, like, in the, I guess, transformation, like, that point he still had that humanity. But you like, if that encounter were to happen, like, in a different time later on, like, would that have happened? Probably not. He probably would have just been like, go!
I'm just glad you used the T word that you used, because I thought you were going a different direction with that.
What?
I thought you were going to say transition, and I was about to die.
Yeah, it's the best game in the franchise. It's my favorite game of all time, hands down.
Dude, no.
100%.
The which one was it for PS4? Was it 4 or 7 or
What?
the Resident Evil?
Which one?
The one that came out for PS4. The first one.
That was 7.
That was
No.
epic.
Yeah, that was 7.
That was epic.
I have my qualms with 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2, the remake was phenomenal. You can play either of them, and you have a great time. And also in 2, you get the companions for each. Like, Claire meets Sherry Birkin, and like takes care of her and stuff, helps her out of the shit. Basically, she meets up with Annette Birkin, and Annette is to the point where she knows she's doomed, so she like tells Sherry to go with Claire. But at first, it's like this battle because it's Annette's daughter, so of course she's like, who do you think you are? She's my daughter. But it gets to the point where it's like, okay, like, I know my fate. Just please take care of her. And then Leon meets Ada, the little spy, who is there to steal a sample of the T-virus for a foreign person. I don't think you find out who that is.
Dude, it had to be China.
There's so much involved in Resident Evil 2. The story is much more expansive. Expansive?
Yeah.
Yeah, expansive. It's perfect. If you, for some reason, you haven't played Resident Evil 2, please play Resident Evil 2.
Would you say that Claire took stock in the Birkins?
I'm just gonna do this by myself from now on.
What? That's a reasonable question. She wanted to help them.
Resident Evil 3. I think this might be my least favorite in the franchise. Well, my least favorite for the original PlayStation. That's a very hot take because this is a lot of people's favorite. And I wouldn't say it's my least favorite because it's bad. It's my least favorite because I have the least amount of time in this game. So
what, like 348 hours?
No, way less than that. So this came out a year after Resident Evil 2. So this came out in 1999. The summary here is on September 28th, 1998, 24 hours prior to the events of Resident Evil 2, former STARS member Jill Valentine attempts to escape from Raccoon City. Jill encounters 3 servicing members of the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, Carlos, Mikhail, and Nikolai. The player must control former elite agent Jill Valentine as she escapes from Raccoon City, which has been overrun by zombies. The game uses the same engine as its predecessors and features 3D models over pre-rendered backgrounds with fixed camera angles like the ones prior. And this one introduced like choices, so you can choose. Mostly it's when you meet up with Nemesis. It's like, do you stay and fight or do you run? And those choices will impact later moments in the game.
So if they remade this today...
They did.
No, like today.
I don't even like where you're going with this already.
Would the choices be fuck them up or bitch out?
I hate you so much.
I'm just asking.
I hate you so much.
Just...
So this isn't like... It's not technically a sequel because it happens during the timeline of Resident Evil 2. It's just happening in a different section of the city. So basically there's a point where the both of those stories cross. Like they're kind of in the same area, but they're not aware of each other. The remake for this is... It's not great. It's okay, but it's not great. It's not Resident Evil 2 remake. This kind of felt like when it got remade and it came out and I played it, they took a lot of it out. Like took a lot of the game out. They like trimmed back on the content, and it was really short. Like really, really short. I like the direction that they went, like with Nemesis, like his design. I like all of the UBCS guys, Nikolai, Mikhail, and Carlos. I like those characters. I like the fights with Nemesis. I like everything that they did, but it was much too short. Like they needed to keep in some of like the stuff that happened. But then, like, going back to Resident Evil 3, like, some of those moments that they cut, like, feel like filler in this game. So I think that what they should have done was, like, rewrote them in the story to make them, like, make more sense and, like, expand on it a bit. But all they did was just remove. They didn't add, which is, when you're remaking a game, not what you want to be doing. You want to expand. You want it to become what it was, but bigger. And like it just felt empty. Go ahead. I feel like that's the biggest problem with that remake was like at the time when I played it, I was like, this is great, like this is sick. And then like as I replayed it, I was like, man, this is, like, just really empty.
I think you were also, 9?
Well, I'm talking about the remake at that point. Oh. Like, the remake was, like, really empty. Like, revisiting Resident Evil 3 now, like, it's a Resident Evil game. It's good. It's more of the same. Exploration is everything. Survival. This one, though, it was definitely less survival horror and more, like, action, like more action based. So with this one, you started with a assault rifle. So like, and then like you had a reload tool, so you could make ammo for guns. You would find gunpowder and you could make ammo for guns, and different combinations would make different stuff. So like you could make grenade rounds, you can make handgun rounds, you can make shotgun rounds. Like you could make different things with different combinations. So it had like a more expansive thing in that regard. But Nemesis, one of the most iconic enemies in any franchise, period. This one, I don't know. It just doesn't resonate as hard with me. The beginning of the game does, because as a kid, like, I didn't really play this to beat it. I played it just because it was Resident Evil. So like Jill, Brad Vickers, I mean, one of the most iconic parts for me was when Nemesis just grabs Brad like by the head and just tentacle through the skull. That's like, it used to be the background on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a dream of mine.
Just to get Nemesis tentacles straight through your face.
Yeah. I had nightmares about that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like this is the one that I have the least amount of time in. But again, it's a game that you can go back to today and still play and have fun and enjoy it.
Isn't the 28th Saturday?
Yes.
We're going to like celebrate RE3 Day?
God, I wish. I will be if I'm in the hospital. Because I have it on my ROG Ally, so I'll just be playing the original Resident Evil trilogy again.
Just wait until I show up to the hospital. I'm like, hey, surprise! You'll be like, oh shit,
dude. If I had a laptop, I would 100% like stream from the hospital.
You don't have a laptop?
Not one that's capable of doing that.
Oh yeah. Do I have any extra laptops? I'll have to look.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to stream like playing the original trilogy again. I would love to do that.
Oh, I thought you were going to stream the birth.
But but I am about to have a baby. So
I mean, you're showing.
Gonna be I'm
not as
pretty
much
far,
as I am.
Pretty far along. Yeah, I mean, the original Resident Evil trilogy, it's a classic for a reason. Play them, especially during this time of year. It's the best time to play them. And the remakes as well. If you don't have access to an old PlayStation, you can play them on the GOG store if you have a PC. They have a trilogy. I think it's like $20 for all 3 of them. You can play Director's Cut on PlayStation Plus, but they don't have the other 2. So if you want to play the original trilogy, I think you have to buy it on GOG and or have a original PlayStation. And they're not crazy expensive. They're like, for all 3 of them, it's probably like $150 maybe, like $50 a piece, give or take. Actually, yeah, about that. What are you looking at now?
I just realized I'm looking at the Resident Evil soundtrack on vinyl.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
I caught that.
Yep, I have 7 also.
The things you learn, like...
I think I have 4 as well, but...
That's not the original Empire poster, is it?
I don't think so, no.
I think that's an alternate.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we need to get you the original one. Anyway, back to Raccoon City. And Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah,
I'm immersed here. How you wind up with this shit, I'll never know.
Yeah, like, I had somebody in a game collecting group. He does, like, the bead art. So he made me Chris, Jill, Claire, and Leon in bead art in, like, 8-bit. You see them right there? 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's not the part that I'm curious about.
So I have those, and I'll edit them in here to show off.
They're pretty epic.
They're sweet, dude. He chose the frames and the background color, so it's the umbrella colors.
Uh-huh.
And dude, he does really sick like art. He did a bunch for a bunch of people in the group. I have the medals from Resident Evil 2 when you do the fountain. You have the 3 medals that you input to open the fountain.
Oh dear Lord.
I have the keys.
Okay.
So the diamond key, the heart key, the club key, the spade key. I have those. I have the G&T virus case. I have a import collector's edition of the remake for PS3. It comes with the blueprints for the mansion, which I want to get framed. It's sick, but I want like a cool like wooden frame for them. So I think that would be really sick. I have the snow globe for Resident Evil 5 that came. I have the 3 soundtracks. I have 2 Nintendo Powers and a Game Informer that have Resident Evil on the cover. I have collector's editions for the 2, 3, 4 remake, Village. I've got the Funko Pops back here. I've got all of them on the physical copies of all of them.
There's a few $1,000s sitting here in Resident Evil stuff.
I used to have the chainsaw controller, but I did sell that off.
The fucking what?
They have 2 chainsaw controllers, one for the GameCube, one for the PS2. They were for Resident Evil 4, because of the chainsaw Ganado. It was a controller that you could play, but it was like a chainsaw. Much smaller chainsaw, but it was built like a chainsaw, so you could play it. And it was like, it had like blood splatter on it. It was sick.
Was it steel?
No, it was like plastic. But
no, like the brand. Was it orange like a steel? STIA.
The PlayStation 2 one was orange. The GameCube one was yellow. I had the GameCube one. It was sealed.
Who the hell makes a yellow chainsaw?
It was sick. I mean, it would be what? It would be DeWalt.
I don't think DeWalt makes chainsaws.
Well, they're yellow, right?
Yeah, but I don't think
DeWalt has to make chainsaws. They make power tools. Anyway, back to the Resident Evil stuff. The mouse pad, the big mouse pad there, is from the Resident Evil deck building game.
Dear God.
I have one of the sets for the Resident Evil deck building game. I have Resident Evil 2, the board game.
Is that for when you're bored of the game?
I have it was a promotional item, I think. It's a brown sack, like the one that the chainsaw guy wears over his head.
Right.
And it just says it has Resident Evil 4 over it. I got it from the game collecting group that I'm in.
I think we need to get...
What else do I have? I have the toys back here. The original Resident Evil toy. I have the Tyrant, and then I have Ada, Claire, and Sherry with Tyrant. And then I have a Krauser from Resident Evil 4, like the figure. I have all the things to go along. I have Mr. X. I have 2 Resident Evil 5 toys, Chris and the Executioner. I think that's it. I'll put everything in the video. I'll edit it. I'll take pictures and edit it all in. But yeah, I'm not lying. It is my favorite franchise of all time. I absolutely love it. It is it is just, the lore behind it is just so well done. Like, they have strayed at times. They haven't made some really good games at points. But there's a lot of bad Resident Evil games. But I will still play them, and I will still have a soft spot for them.
For a second there, I thought you were getting choked up.
No.
You're full of shit.
Why would I get choked up about Resident Evil? I mean, some
you just showed us all $3,000 worth of shit in your basement.
Some of my favorite memories, though, as a kid, are playing Resident Evil with my childhood friend that I no longer speak to because reasons. But that was key moments when I was a kid. Like, we'd be outside playing Resident Evil, pretending we were in Resident Evil. We'd when we sat in my room to play games, we were playing Resident Evil. Mainly Resident Evil 2, because that was just the one that was just so perfect. We played a little bit of Resident Evil 3, but...
Leon! Leon, get out of there!
Yeah, it's my favorite franchise of all time. Hands down. But, yeah, play the original trilogy. And, well, the original 3 that were on the PS1, at least.
I'm going to start a franchise called Evil Resident.